Hello and welcome back to another edition of Corn-Fed Sports in the Morning. We're pleased to announce that this is going to be our first full week of production here for Corn-Fed Sports. I know we've said that before, but we actually have guests in the studio the next 4 days, so we're lucky enough that we're going to have some Huskers in the studio, and it's not just going to be us talking. But for now, you'll just have to deal with us. As usual, I'm Pat Radigan. Joining me now, we got Gage Pete. Gage, how you doing on this interesting Monday morning in Lincoln, Nebraska?
It's good to be back. Kind of a football, baseball kind of in the kick of things right now. So
definitely feeling kind of heavy, kind of warm outside. Yeah. So when the humidity starts coming back, you know it's baseball season. You get ready
degrees.
for those long Friday nights at Hawks Field. So starting to feel a little bit like spring.
Yeah.
We're getting back in the swing of things, like I said. We're going to start with one of our segments. It's called the Corn-Fed 5. It's going to be our headline segment. So for today's show, we're just going to do a quick headline segment. We'll move on. We'll have guests. We'll have kind of the whole thing this next week. So you guys will get to see us roll out our intro video and all the fun parts of the show. So stay tuned for that. But for right now, we're going to jump in. Obviously, big weekend, Nebraska football, some other things going on.
Yeah.
So we'll jump into some headlines now, starting with probably the most significant play of a Husker spring game ever. So we'll start with that for our first.
Maybe not even just a spring game, but biggest play of all time. We'll get to the breakdown of the red and white game after this, but the more important story of the game was little Jack Hoffman, a 7-year-old cancer patient who came in the game's second half and had a 69-yard touchdown run for the red team to seal the victory for him and was the leading rusher of the team.
But, yeah, they're up 26-25 at the time. Like you said, the 69 yards led the team in rushing. Obviously, a moving or touching moment for everybody involved.
Absolutely. With
Nebraska's potential, with the hundreds of thousands of people on Facebook and the 8,000 on Twitter, they have a lot of the potential to reach a lot of people. But I think it was significant because it wasn't just those numbers. It wasn't just Husker Nation. It was the nation as a whole. It was college football as a whole. It was even just, it went to CNN. It went to Good Morning America.
Right.
It went to, some of those different things, some of those people who aren't necessarily sports-type people all the time. So I think that's where you see the significance of it, and that's where it took on that extra meaning, is because it was a symbol for everyone. I mean, ESPN all weekend, they didn't just put it as number one on top plays. They did their own segment on it. They led the Sunday morning show. They've already been talking about it this morning. They're already putting it up for best of the best and some of those different things. So just to see the impact that it has there and to see that kind of thing. I actually at the time, doing things at the football game, you're always moving around. I had gotten to the little photo area underneath Memorial Stadium, so I didn't actually get to see it myself, but I'll never forget just wondering what in a spring game could possibly make the whole stadium shake like that.
Right.
And it sounded like, you're scoring a game-winning touchdown in the fourth quarter against Wisconsin. It sounded like something like that, and then everybody's shaking, everybody's freaking out. You get there, after the game, you see little kids move around. They're all he's just sitting there smiling, and there's nothing else he needed to do that day. There's nothing else he wanted to play with. He just wanted to sit there and just keep living the dream and keep playing it over and over in his head. So it's just really special to see something like that. Really special to be there and get to be around that kind of environment.
Yeah.
So obviously, well done by the program, by Bo, by some of the other guys behind
Jeff
Jamrog, CJ Zimmer, some of the guys who you might not see that it's just them, but they had Rex Burkhead obviously has played a big role in all this. Was a great ambassador on the radio or calling in to ESPN yesterday. So there's just a lot of people who did a lot to not just make it a special moment, but a special moment that you can build off of and build some momentum for the cause and some different things like that. So we'll move on to our second headline here. We'll jump into some of the on-field, some of the happenings. Like we said, the red team was able to get the win. Offensive early on, Taylor Martinez and Tommy Armstrong combined a pretty good game for good for their side and had some touchdowns. But who are some of the things and what were some of the performances that stuck out for you?
Well, sticking to offensively real quick, this offense, from what I could tell and from what most experts can say, is that this offense should be able to score 28 to 42 points a game easily throughout the season next year, I think. Ron Kellogg, you said Taylor and Tommy. Ron came out 11 for 12, 148 yards and a touchdown pass. He looked sharp, more so than he did last year during the regular season. People kind of didn't know how he would be as a backup, but he came in strong and I think gives us consistency if, God forsake, hopefully this doesn't happen, Taylor gets hurt. But on the defensive side, the secondary and the safety play actually impressed me the most. Harvey Jackson had 7 tackles. I think he came in strong for a defense that people are going to underestimate a little bit going into the season. I think it'd be really young and fast, and I think they might give up big plays sometimes, but they're going to make big plays. And I think Harvey and Corey Cooper are kind of those two guys in the backside that can make some plays for us.
And you saw that with the coaches saying that it was kind of their spot to lose. They didn't say much about spring ball, but after the game and after they kind of showed that, it was a little more evident that they say, these are the guys who are looking in the place. Although it's going to be interesting to see how some of the other young guys coming in next year compete with them.
And I was thinking that, the corner play was great too, and you got, Keontae Evans, Stanley John Baptiste, and Josh Mitchell, but then you got the younger guys, Mo Cisse and Charles Jackson, all those guys too to go along with it. It's just a really young team.
And see some guys flying out there on again. And last year, it's who's going to step in and fill. And when you have some veteran guys, it's who's going to live up to that standard.
Right.
When everyone's kind of setting the bar at the same time, and you're all setting the standard, it gives them, there's less pressure, there's less kind of the anxiety with the defensive backs, with the linebackers, with some of those players. So I think the combined inexperience, the combined youth can turn into kind of energy and a sense of growing together. So I think you'll see some of those things keep developing and see some of that competition. Another thing I think that was significant to mention is some of the, obviously a big play in a spring game isn't insignificant because broken coverages, things like that. But seeing C.J. Zimmer take the touchdown and take it 47 yards, seeing Alonzo Moore get his 37-yard touchdown, see some of those different things. They're there. There's some players who can come in. It's not just going to be the starters on offense. It's not just going to be Kenny Bell, Jamal Turner, Quincy Nunley. It's going to be when they're subbing in, when one guy's taking a drive off, you're going to have guys like coming in. You're going to have guys, like some of the guys who started at the beginning of last year stepping in and doing some things that people aren't necessarily expecting from guys not named Kenny Bell in the receiving corps. But when you look at the receiving corps, I think it's becoming more and more of a Green Bay Packers type situation where it's going to be a bunch of guys competing with each other on everything. Why didn't you make that block? Why didn't you get 10 extra yards? Why didn't you get the first down? Why didn't you make that one-handed catch in the end? Some of those things you keep pushing each other. And it's not just going to be this year. It's going to be for the next couple of years. It's going to be for years to come. And I think that's what you're seeing in this transition, this up-tempo offense. It's not just the development of the backs, the young backs coming in next year, but the receivers, the depth of the receiving core. They've been getting a lot of praise from Big Ten media members, from some of the people who look at the whole scope of the conference. And so I think the receivers are another thing that really showed out big.
Yep.
All right, we'll move on to some other developments in Nebraska athletics over the weekend.
Husker softball, they rebound. They lost game 1, 2-6 against Iowa Friday, and then come back and win game 2 and 3, 11-2. Second game, game 3, they won 3-2. Talk about what you kind of saw over the weekend.
I think exactly what you said there at the rebound, being able to bounce back. The Nebraska softball team obviously starts strong, moves up in the national rankings. There's been some turbulence since then, but they've been able to right the ship. They've been able to take care of business and win series and go on the road and do some things already in Big Ten play. And so I think that going out there and seeing people like, the 3 different players had 2 RBIs in the game. In the second game, win the run rule win. On Sunday, you have seen Nebraska go out there. Nebraska only had 3 hits as a team, but they're able to get a single from Gabby Band that plays 2 runs, go up 2-0. Iowa comes back and ties it 2-2. Then you get another player on in the 7th inning. Brooke Thomason takes a shot. I don't think she was actually credited with the RBI, but hits a shot, goes off an infielder's glove. The run's able to come across. You get that 7th win. You got 2 pitchers who combine. I think they sprinkled 5 hits throughout, but you got 2 pitchers who come in, didn't necessarily have their best stuff, didn't have the strikeout totals or the complete games you might want to see in that Sunday situation, but they were able to get the win. They combine, they hold on, and Nebraska just gets lot of gutsy plays, and the seniors are starting to step up. Gabby Band and Brooke Thomason are coming with those big plays, but you also see Donna Tyson had a couple RBIs in the run, and she's able to bounce back after a tough game 1. There's a 2-hour weather delay on Saturday. They keep going, they keep pushing, they keep getting runs. They take care of business in 5 innings. So to see them be able to do some of those things, even in the face of adversity, even when things don't go right, to get the series win, to get a run rule victory, to eke out a 3-2 win like they did in the 7th inning, those are some things I think you can really build on.
Yeah, I think at this point in the season, you want to win the series. You want to build right now and then surge at the end, going into conference tournament, which is held in Lincoln this year, which will be really excited to see all the teams come in. But moving on, we'll go to Nebraska baseball. They win their first 2 games, kind of opposite of softball. They won their first 2 games, dropped the 3rd game, but you got to be impressed with the offensive performance of the guys, scoring 12 runs in the first 2 games.
For sure. I think that everything you saw from the Nebraska baseball team on Friday and in those first couple games are what you've seen when they're at their best. And you see it even in the defeat. They're able to get some runs in the 9th inning. They turn it from 6-2 to 6-5. They have the game tying run on. They arguably could have gotten there if one get a little break differently in the 9th inning. So they still showed up in the loss, but then in the wins, it was not just the bats we've seen in spurts and different players. It was everybody coming together at once. So that's what I mean by they showed not just the potential of what a few can do like they've done against Illinois and some of those other teins, but you see they go out there. 8 of the 12 runs came in 2-out situations in the first game. In the second game. And then from there, in the first game, 17 hits in game number 2. Sorry, I got those mixed up.
No, you're
but
fine.
17 in game number 2, you see Cash Kalkowski go out there and get his first home run of the year.
Right.
And that may not seem like a big deal for him to get the home run, first 17 hits and a blowout win, little things like that.
Yeah.
When you can go out there and say, hey, it's not just things we've talked about. It's not just things we say, hey, if Pat Kelly does this, if Pritchard does this, and you combine it together, you could do 15. They've actually done it now. They've actually gone out. It wasn't a comeback. It's not, some of those other rally moments they've had this year have been close losses, have been comebacks they should have probably won before that, and little things like that. It's a clean performance. It's some things they can go out there they can really build off of. Obviously, Sunday they'd want that back. They'd want to keep the bats going a little bit.
Yeah.
But when you're able to do some of those different things and have the output that you're able to do, every player getting a hit in a game, 8 players getting a hit the next day, little things like that. It shows that the Nebraska baseball team has that depth, has that talent. Their RPI rating is still top 50. They're still if Texas and some of those teams are able to keep their RPI up, if Nebraska takes care of business in Big Ten play, second in the league right now and off to a great start. So if they can just kind of keep some of those things rolling, I think you'll see Nebraska keep moving up in the RPI.
It's kind of the same thing with softball. You got to win the series. You got 2 or 3, that's good. You got to keep up with Indiana, then going in then you got to pass them up so we can host a region.
Definitely. I mean, in Nebraska, 3 series wins, 5 total straight conference series dating back to last year. So they've gotten some series wins. It's the first time they've done 3 straight series wins since, I think, 2009 or 2008. So 3 straight conference series wins is a big mark for Nebraska. They can keep building. They got another home series.
Right.
That'll be the key for them.
Then they got a home game tomorrow night against Creighton. Tomorrow 6:30.
We always kind of look past 6:35. I believe is the first pitch. So the midweek kind of sneaks up on you, but it's first one against Creighton. I think it's a good opportunity for them to kind of get out some of that jitters from that last game against Iowa, get back into Hawksville, and get used for the weekend.
It's something you guys just real quick. This team doesn't have necessarily a lot of power, but they can hit the ball and they run the bases extremely well. One of the best teams I've seen running the bases in a long time watching Husker baseball here. Erstad has them stealing bases. They're very aggressive. They get guys on second and knock them in. So.
And I think that's the key right there is coachers. I think that's where the Erstad effect's coming in. But
absolutely.
For now, we'll move on to our number 5 in the
All right, moving on to volleyball. Saturday had a football game that night, volleyball game against Iowa State. It was a pretty impressive showing, I think, against a good Iowa State team. NU won 3-0 in the game. 25-20, 26-24, 27-25. And each 3 of those games, they kind of had some adversity, and each of them had to fight back and then take the lead late. Kind of talk about what you saw there.
Yeah, and at times I felt like I might have been hallucinating from the fact I was only running on some muscle milk and a bag of baked lays at that point.
Yes.
So if some of my things were little, I remember it as best I possibly can. But it was kind of a weird game too. So at times I felt like I might have been seeing things that I really wasn't. Like Nebraska doesn't even get a kill on their first 4 points in the first game, and just some little things like that, service errors, all little things along those lines.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interesting things, but I think the key things to look at is that Nebraska was out hit percentage-wise by Iowa State. They didn't really do they didn't have as many kills as Iowa State, and Iowa State has 2 people who have 13 kills each. Nebraska's only got 1 player with double-digit kills in Kelsey Robinson. And so they had more blocks. They led at 9-7 in total team blocks. They had more service aces, and Iowa State had a bunch of service errors and some more attacking errors.
I think that you bring up Nebraska play a lot cleaner than Iowa State. That Iowa State made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, and so just to see that even though they're not hitting, they're not doing the typical things you see from Nebraska, and they're able to have the wins that they do, they're still able to come up and get the wins, to win 26-24, to win 27-25.
Right.
They're right on the verge of losing both those sets. They needed the 5-point run in the second game, and some of those things.
It's a good build for life without Hannah.
When you think about it, the difference in the match came down to NU blocking and playing defense, fewer errors, and Kelsey Robinson. And you're going to see a lot of that, and obviously that's some of the things we pointed out, but you can't overlook on a young team like this with players who are going to struggle to find consistency, with new setters, with when they finally do figure out a system. You got Katie Rolfson right now playing libero to kind of rest her shoulder a little bit and do some of those different things. So you don't know how some of those pieces are going to fit in. But when you see, even into the third set, the crowd can't help but just, you can hear the breath taken away from the crowd on those jump serves from Kelsey Robinson. And she comes up, Nebraska's down 25-24, set point in the third set, gets a kill to even it up, gets a kill to take it to 26-25, gets a kill to put the match away. So 3 straight kills, runs it to double-digit kills. At that point, there are 3 Nebraska players with 7 kills in the match. Robinson finishes out with 3 straight, goes to 10. It wasn't the most efficient day, but they've just got done playing sand. They just moved inside, so they're just kind of figuring it out. Coach Cook said they don't really do anything great right now, but they do a lot of things okay.
Good, yeah.
But the one thing I think they do great is they compete, and they go out there, and right now they want to win everything.
Absolutely.
You know they had a bad taste in their mouth of not being able to get the upsets in sand and not being in kind of a foreign environment and being able to do that, and they're not going to let games. They don't want to let points slip away from them. So I'm seeing that kind of edge early on. And it wasn't perfect. They'd tell you it wasn't perfect. It was sloppy, but they did a lot of good things, and they were able to get the sweep, in kind of a weird fashion, but they did it. And they won their second of their spring matches. And I think it's important to build some of that chemistry right now.
A lot of young, solid talent. The twins, Ralston twins from Papio, they're gonna end up being really
and a lot
good.
of versatile talent too.
Yeah.
Alexis Strange playing setter right now.
Sheridan's
going over on two right
yeah.
now a lot and doing a lot of those different things. Sheridan could be defensive specialist,
kind
back
of like
row type
what Paige brought to last
Definitely.
year.
But then you also have a bunch of hitters who
Yeah.
can be outsides, who can be right sides, who can shift to the middle, do some 6'2" kind of looks. As a young setter coming in, some really different weapons. So it'll be interesting to see when you get all those pieces in the gym at the same time in the fall. But
I actually like this team more than I did in the fall. I kind of was like life after Lauren Cook, life after Hannah. But this team, they might not be as good as that team.
And
is
life
right
after
now.
Gina too. So
life after Gina, sorry.
We don't want to alienate any of our faithful followers.
Absolutely, but they look really. They're going to look good. They're going to be good this coming year, I think, in the fall.
And I think
they just need to continue to work
It's going to be the perfect
together.
environment for a young team, a new team, a kind of building team in the Devaney Center. They had a Sand Volleyball tournament this weekend.
Be so
Coach Cook talked about how he wants to see a court storming at the Devaney Center for the volleyball.
Yeah,
and
that'd be sweet.
I had never even considered it. And when I read it, I was just like, I felt like one of those mind blown type moments. Like last year against UCLA, one of those things.
That
it would have happened.
If
you can see that happening, I think that would be something that is going to be significant.
That's
so there's a good image to end on. So that'll wrap up our Corn Fed 5 for today. And like I said, we're just doing a Corn Fed 5 for today's show. So this is our entirety for today's show. Tomorrow we're going to have our first guest, and like I said, guest every single day this week. So we'll have co-hosts, we'll have some different segments, we'll have some videos and some pictures and things like that. But we have our first guest tomorrow in the studio. We're going to save the suspense a little bit and build it. But for now, thanks for joining us for Corn Fed Sports in the Morning. I'm Pat Radigan.
Gage Peak.
And tune in for the rest of the week.